Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I think we'll get ready to go here. And with that, I will gavel us in and we are in session. And with that, I'll call us to order. I got to establish a quorum. And I do think we have 7. We need 6. We have 7, counting Carrie Geithner, who's online. And with that, we've established a quorum. And with that, we'll move to item number 3, public comment period for items not on the agenda. I'll look over at Jared and see if we got anybody online.
Mr. Chairman, we did not receive any advance requests for public comment, and unless anyone wants to unmute and make public comment at this time, we don't.
Okay, with that, I do know Larry has some public comments to make, and Larry, welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Larry Tobias, first vice chair of the CAC. I'd just like to inform, some of you already know this, but I wanted to let everybody know because it's a project that has become before the CAC and the board several times, and that's the IGA with Copper Ridge Metro District for the extension of the Powers Boulevard between Highway 83 and Voyager Parkway. Yesterday, the county commissioners approved it. They were the last entity that was required to approve that. They approved it on a vote of 5-0. In talking to Jennifer just a little while ago, she says the only thing that we have left now to formalize that document that has been approved by the CAC and the board and the city of Colorado Springs and now El Paso County is to get several signatures on that document, and that document will be complete and formalized. And Jennifer says that Copper Ridge is starting to do some of their preliminary work on that project as far as planning and things of that nature. So hopefully we will see something in the near future from that particular project.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate those citizens' comments. With that, I'm going to back up to item number 2. I jumped over that to approval of the agenda. If I could get a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved. Mr. Chair, if I could suggest, there's one typo, my error on 6A. The action should be information instead of approve. So
6A is information and not approved.
Instead of approve, so I'd request an amended agenda approval.
Roger that. So I think, and I'll look at Director Avila and say, do you still have your motion to approve with the one amended item?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Looking for a second.
I'll second John Graham.
Mayor Graham seconds it. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. So with that, item 2 is approved, and I'll go back to item 3 real quick to see if there's any other citizens' comments for items not on the agenda today. And again, I don't think there's any additional ones online. Give it just a second. Okay, with that, I will close the public comment time and move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes from the August 9th, 2023 meeting. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
Mayor Dixon also move.
I have a motion to approve.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardine, second.
I have a motion, a second from Mayor Pro Tem Gardine. And with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear and see none. With that, our minutes are approved. Moving along to item number 5, we'll ask Larry to come back up.
Larry Tobias, first vice chair of the CAC, presenting our monthly report from our meeting last week. Public comments, we had none either. Financial reports, Lisa gave us a good report on our financials and also some possible projections, and she will probably get into that in your meeting here today. The 2024 budget calendar was presented and approved with a positive recommendation to the board. City of Colorado Springs presented 7 contracts and all of those were reviewed and approved by the CAC. El Paso County property line item transfer, that was concerning 105 was small amount. What was that, Josh? $16,000, I think it was. 34. And that was reviewed by the CAC and approved as a positive recommendation to the board. The El Paso County also had one contract that was reviewed and approved and forwarded to the board for approval. City of Manitou Springs contract. We reviewed their contract. That was also approved by the CAC and forwarded on to the board for final approval. City of Colorado Springs Transit Service monthly update, that was information only. So you'll hear some of that same information today. City of Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition report. That was reviewed by the CAC. That was information only. El Paso County monthly change order and property acquisition report. Information only. Again, that was reviewed by the CAC. Report of recent board actions. That was presented by Rick for information only. Draft policy 32. This has been a policy, as we discussed at our meeting, pre-meeting, has been around for approximately a year now. We think we have it in final form, and it was approved, reviewed by the CAC and approved unanimously. And hopefully the board will take the same action today, and that will become an official document and it won't come back to us again, right, Randy?
You bet.
Quarterly reports from member governments, information only, that was presented. 2 additional reports came out to all of you by email that were submitted a little bit late, but everything was completed. There were no agenda item topics for the next meeting, and there were no communications presented for the meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Anyone online? Carrie, anyone online? I don't see any. So with that, Larry, thank you very much. And now up here back on the board for item number 5, Citizens Advisory Comments Report. I'm looking for a motion to accept the CAC's report.
I move acceptance of the CAC report. John Graham. Mayor Dixon, I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear and see none. With that, we'll move, so that is accepted, and we'll move to item number 6, monthly financial reports. Lisa.
Lisa Corey, Finance Manager for PPRTA. The financials I'm reporting is for the month of July. In sales and use tax, we received $13,721,686, which was above our budgeted amount by $541,533, or 4.1%. When we look at July compared to July of last year, it's essentially flat. We received $3,779 less than the same time period last year. Anyone have any questions on those?
Yeah, I'm looking around the room. We discussed this in some detail in the agenda prep, that it's both good and bad. It's a good report for obviously the month of July, and see what brings to us in August and September.
Yep.
And again, this is information only, as I think Rick corrected us earlier. So any questions or comments? I hear and see none. Lisa, thank you. With that, we'll move to item 6B, our 2024 budget calendar and revenue estimate for approval. And I'll turn it back over.
Okay, for the revenue estimate, I was recommending leaving the sales and use tax portion at 150 million for next year as well. But with releasing 6 million of interest earnings up front.
So what would that be to our budget then? 156 million or still 150 million plus the potential for the interest?
The sales and use tax, so the first page of the financials, that would still be 150 million. But as far as funds that people can budget into what they're doing, it would be 156.
Does that make sense to everyone or is that a little confusing? Director Avila.
It's a little confusing. That's because I'm trying to do the math in my head, so.
Yeah, it's just the 6 million in the interest earnings is just a different revenue stream. So it doesn't really have anything to do with how much people are spending or how much we're collecting in tax revenue. It's just a separate revenue stream. But
So-
everyone would have access to that and be able to use that in their budgets.
So
So
it's a budget of 150 million and then a part and separate of the 6 million, but people will be able to use that as well.
Yes,
so our budget would actually be then 156 million. Is
I
that
think so. Sounds like.
essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Director Donaldson?
Well, Mr. President, my question would just be, why do we do it that way? Why don't we have a budget of 156 with 150 normal PPRTA tax revenue, 6 million in what is that? Interest revenue. What is it? Is it two completely separate documents, two separate financial statements?
Well, in the overall budget, they're just separate line items, but it's still, when we're setting the sales and use tax portion, it's just a different line. So for the line of sales and use tax, I would suggest 150 million as one revenue stream. And then also in part of the net amount that people can budget, member governments can budget to use, the interest revenue would just be another line.
Okay,
It's still in
in the
addition
same
to-
financial statement, it's just a different line.
Yeah.
I don't have that in front of me, but that makes a lot of sense, so I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else, any questions on that? I wanted to make sure that because I drove a lot of the questioning on this during the agenda prep because I wanted to understand it clearly too. All right. With that, and a piece of that then is the calendar. Who's going to cover the calendar?
Yes, so the next page is the proposed dates for the calendar. This is within one day of exactly what it was last year. Just following when our meetings are. The only thing that I wanted to draw attention to is for the member governments to submit their budget requests. That is set as the 27th of this month. So when we decide on a final amount, then I will send out to each member government what their share is so they can start working that into their budget.
Yes, Gail.
Yeah, Gail Servant, City of Colorado Springs. To be clear, when you send that split out, are we making the assumption, or I would request that we make the assumption that Fountain is joining PPRTA, so that would impact the maintenance money each of the jurisdictions would be getting. And then if for some reason they do not join PPRTA, then we could do a budget amendment and add the additional revenue. Would that?
Yes, that's
yes, and I would,
to do. So kind of
yes.
worst case, if they're there, it's the least amount of money. If they end up not joining, then I would send out an additional amount for people to put wherever. I think it's easier than everyone trying to then reduce it later.
Yeah, I think we make some assumptions. I think we make the assumption that Fountain will be with us, especially for the maintenance dollars that we just talked about. So yes. Excellent question. Yes, Mayor.
Are there any leeways to these dates? Because we may be caught in between board meetings.
I'm going to look over to Rick for that, and Lisa for
It's me.
that. Yeah.
So the next line, because this is kind of a working document between me and the member governments to put all this together. So I do have in the calendar from September 27th to October 5th is our time to kind of go back and forth. And
Okay, so we really
So-
have maybe until October 5th.
well, that gives me no time to put it together, but I mean,
Yeah, because we will likely be caught in between board
Yeah.
meetings.
I think that'll be okay.
I think we're flexible on these, of course. I believe we are.
Okay.
But this is give us a starting point. Just yes, Rick.
In the past, since state law says that it has to be delivered to the board by October 15, we have two options. We can put it in your board agenda packet before your October 11 meeting, which would be about 6 days. That would be the October 5 plus or minus. Or we can hand it to you, deliver it to you on October 11, which would give Lisa a little more cushion to work on the budget. Instead of going into the board agenda packet, it would just be delivered to you on the 11th of October. And of course, there'd be no action then. That's just the state law delivery date. And then the CAC and the board would have their budget workshops in November, final approval in December. So handing it to you on October 11 might give Lisa a few more days.
Yeah, my question was specifically with regards to local boards, not necessarily to this board.
How do we help you on that, Mayor?
Well, we just have to have things together in front of our board.
Right.
And hopefully meet what, these dates, she can have time to put things together.
But I want to help you today to come to a resolution on this as far as
Basically, I'm probably gonna say our drop dead to my board is probably gonna be our first meeting in October, which will be hang with me just a second if I pull up the calendar.
yeah, Gail, while he's looking at that, go ahead.
Yeah, can I
Sure.
make a suggestion that might help you out, Mayor Dixon? Because she just has to have a draft version of it. If you could give her what you plan on presenting to your board, and that gives her time to do her work in advance. And then if you have to make changes after you meet with her board, that would
Perfect.
be easier for her. We've had to do some minor adjustments in the past as well
Okay,
with
so a
her.
draft version.
Yeah, a draft
Okay.
would be fine.
There you go.
Thank you.
I knew we'd come to the right answer on this. Okay, so we're going to vote on this here in a second. Any other concerns on the dates or the dollar amounts? With that, I would ask for a motion to approve the 2024 calendar and revenue estimate.
Move approval of the
John.
calendar and revenue estimate. John Graham managing.
Thank you, Mayor.
Second, Mayor Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. With that, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We have none. I will note that Director Donaldson had to leave the room for a moment, but we still, with Carrie on, we still have 6 voting in the quorum. So we're good, still good to go. With that, we'll move on to item number 7, 2023 capital maintenance and public transportation contracts. And we'll start out with the City of Colorado Springs. Over
Thank
to
you, Mr.
Gail.
Chair, members of the PPRTA Board, Gail Sturdivant with the City of Colorado Springs. The city is bringing 7 contracts for your consideration for approval, plus an 8th item that we just want to inform you because it will need to come back to the PPRTA Board for some future action. But because of the financial implications, we want to make sure that you're aware of it. The first contract for your consideration is for the Black Forest Road widening project. There is a map included in your packet. This is a A-list PPRTA project. With this roadway construction project, we did trigger the requirements to do some channel work for the Cottonwood Creek tributary channel. Because of the financial impact, we went and sought ARPA money for this work in the amount of $1.9 million. Of that amount, $288,000 was committed to the engineering work needed for this tributary work. Because there was some discussion with the federal government earlier this year that if you had not spent your ARPA money, that they may be taking it back, we chose to take that money and apply it to PPRTA roadway items, particularly drainage, that qualified for that money. So we applied the $1.612 million to that effort. But the project still needs to complete this tributary work. And we are ready to go to construction contract related for that. So we have priced that at $1,150,415.31 with Wildcat Construction, who is our contractor out that. So we will be using PPRTA funds to pay for that work, but knowing that PPRTA work has been received $1.6 million. So it is some net gain from the PPRTA project area. Moving on to contract number 2, it is the I-25 ramps, the Nevada Avenue and Tejon Street Corridor Improvements Project. Once again, there is a map included in your packet. This is also an A-list project. The city did go through an RFP process to identify a construction contractor to enter into a construction management general contractor or CMCG contract. We anticipate their contracting having 3 main components, the first of which is pre-construction activities, which is the contract we're bringing forward to you today. That amount would be in $79,000 to SEMA Construction. The next 2 contracts you'll see, one will be for long lead item materials, and then you'll see the main construction contract come through in the future. Contract number 3 is for the Platte Avenue Bridge Replacement Project. This project also is an A-list project. It has a map included in your packet. This project is done, but we are on the final closeouts of the finances on this project. One of the things that we had to do with the fiber optic relocation is underneath the executive agreement between the city of Colorado Springs and Colorado Springs Utilities, we do have to pay for a portion of those relocation costs. That billed amount is $105,396.77 payable to Colorado Springs Utilities. The 4th contract is for the Galley Road over West Fork Sand Creek. This is at the Wooten Road intersection. This is not a PPRTA A-list project. It is, however, a bridge maintenance effort. There is a map included in your packet for the location of this bridge. During our 2022 bridge inspections, there was significant damage noted on this bridge that required a significant maintenance effort. The city has used their on-call bridge maintenance contract to complete the pricing. And this would go for $1,427,920.20 to Wildcat Construction. Contract 5 is for the Academy Boulevard, the south segment between Fountain Boulevard and Milton Proby Parkway. This is an A-list project. You will see that there is a map included in your packet. This is for property acquisitions for the Victory Chapel Ministries area. Because the appraised value for this property was over $100,000, it had to go both to Colorado Springs City Council and is also coming to the PPRTA board for approval. The city council did approve yesterday on their consent agenda the approval for this appraised value in this contract with Victory Chapel Ministries. It is included in the budget for this particular segment for PPRTA, and we'll be asking for the board's approval for this item as well. The 6th contract is for another maintenance related contract, and this is really to change a vendor. In 2021, the city of Colorado Springs went to an RFP process to identify vendors where we could rent heavy equipment to perform maintenance activities using PPRTA maintenance funding. At the time, we had 6 vendors identified. One of those vendors was Ahern Rental Equipment. It has since been purchased by United Rentals. United Rentals was previously not on our list of equipment vendors. So this is really to assign the ability for on-call contract from Ahern to United Rentals in the amount of $300,000. The 7th contract is for the Mark Shuffle Road improvements between North Carefree and Dublin. As that construction's getting underway, one of the things that was identified is to do a utility relocation in a dedicated easement that Mountain View Electric owns. Therefore, the city is responsible, the project is responsible for picking up that cost. The cost for that work is estimated to be $162,348, and that would be payable to Mountain View Electric. So those are the 7 contracts I'll be asking for your approval on. Mayor Dixon, do you have a question? It looks like you were going to ask me something.
Yeah, I was going to ask on the 300,000 for the equipment rental. Is that, pardon me, in addition to, or is that to supplement what was done with or is that
It's a replacement
It's a
of the
replacement?
contract that we had with Ahern's, and we only use that. That's the on-call amount up to 300,000. We only use it as we need equipment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So again, those are the 7 contracts asking. I just want to inform you on an 8th item that you will not be voting on today, but because it has such a financial impact, I want to make sure that you're aware of it. It is for the Tut Boulevard Extension Project. This is a PPRTA A-list project. There is a map included in your packet, and this is for property acquisition or future property acquisition for the J.E. Martin LLC and Jennifer Rasmussen property. There's a joint ownership. The city has been working on with the Tut Boulevard project. It really extends from Delvin Boulevard on the south up to a connection to Templeton Gap. Phase 1 of that project was completed in 2016, and phase 1 went from Dublin up to Vicky Lane. This phase 2 would go from Vicky Lane up to Templeton Gap and have a significant impact on this property. We've been working with this property owner as far back as 2016. It has not come to fruition. We've made offer based on the fair market value, which the appraised value is $580,000, just so you understand our potential financial impact. The property owner has rejected our offers to date. So we have gone through a process through the city's real estate manual where we're going to seek possession and use and potentially have the ability to go to eminent domain if need be. The property owners have indicated verbally to our agent and to me personally yesterday at City Council that they are willing to enter into the possession and use, but they do not necessarily agree with our valuation. I will see to date, they have not offered to bring their own appraised value, nor have they given us a counter offer. We did go through and get approval by City Council yesterday to proceed with this process, possession and use, and potentially eminent domain. The property owners in all cases are going to be compensated for fair market value for this process. But I want you to understand the financial impact because the appraised value today is $580,000. So that would be our entry point for cost. The project is budgeted for this project in this real estate acquisition. But because you will eventually see it in the future, I did not want you to be surprised. So questions on the 7 contracts for your approval or this 8th item that I presented for information?
Anyone have a question? Mayor? Okay, I do have, is there a reason we're not voting on it today, Gail?
Because you don't know the amount?
Okay.
Right. I mean, we don't know the amount and we may not know the amount for some
Oh,
time.
I'm with you now. Okay,
Right.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe I should explain for those who aren't maybe familiar with the process. Possession use allows us to move forward with the project. What really we do, it gives us more time to continue to negotiate back and forth with the property owner. And if we continue to reach an impasse, it would go to an evaluation hearing where a body of real estate appraisers would essentially determine the amount we would be paying for the property.
Okay, with that, I will ask for a motion to approve the Colorado Springs capital maintenance and public transportation contracts.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move to approve.
Okay, I heard both second and, excuse me, motion to approve and then a second from Pro Tem Gardine. I think I heard that.
I second.
Yep. And with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear and see none. With that, the city's approved. And up next is El Paso County with Josh.
Good afternoon, Josh Palmer, County Engineer. The first item I have before you today is request for approval to increase the county's portion for the Briargate Stapleton project and utilize a line item transfer from the Highway 105 project, excuse me, to execute that. We're not increasing the project budget. All we are doing is increasing the county's portion. So this is one of the 4 joint city-county projects. Over the last couple of months, the county and the city have squared up some of the financials revolving around the contributions toward these projects. And this is just in an effort to square up one of the county-led projects and be able to pay the final invoice to the consultant. So we're not increasing the project budget. All we are doing is increasing the county's portion and then using a line item transfer from Highway 105, which will then be, like we typically do, reallocated to that project during the next budget cycle. Oh, dollar amount, correct. You might want to know that. $3,134.56.
Okay, any questions on that particular one? All right.
Do we need to vote on that one first? Okay.
We're going to vote on each one separately. Okay. I need a motion to approve the county's
Yolanda,
Please.
so moved.
Director Avila
John Graham, second.
and Mayor Graham second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? I hear and see none. That portion is approved.
Thank you. Second item we have is a contract item for asphalt materials in the amount of $200,000 with our vendor Schmidt Construction. This is going towards our internal highway department performed patching program throughout the county. So this is to purchase $200,000 worth of asphalt patching materials.
Any questions? Looking for a motion to accept.
Mayor Dixon also move.
Okay,
Member Tim Gardine.
we have a motion to approve and a second. With that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have none. That's approved.
Thank you.
All right, then moving along to next up is City of Manitou Springs.
Thank you.
Welcome back, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, thank you. Bill Gerbenik, city engineer for Manitou Springs. And Colorado Springs Utilities had to lower a high pressure gas line through our project limits. So this is their invoice for us to use RTA dollars to pay the bill for that transportation project.
It makes sense to me. Any questions? Okay, I'll ask for what was the amount?
It's $211,000 to lower it. And for what it's worth, CSU did perform the vast majority of this work. So we were great to see that.
Or it would have been a lot more.
Yes.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move to approve.
Yolanda Avila, second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I have none. That's approved.
Thank you.
Manitou Springs, thank you. Right now, Rick, you sent us out some additional reports from, was it Green Mountain Falls it was Rama and.
Yeah, Rama
Cal-
and
Callahan.
Callahan, the quarterly reports,
Yeah.
that's 9B. I have those hard copies. Well, I forward them electronically, but I have the hard copies for anybody that'd like to see them.
But we don't need to vote on any of those particular projects. I don't.
No,
think.
Mr. Chair,
Okay.
no.
All right, good. I just wanted to double check on that. All right, moving along to item number 8, member governments and other reports, starting with the City of Colorado Springs Transit Services Monthly Report.
Good afternoon. My name is Lan Rao, and sorry, I'm calling in today, reporting remotely.
That's quite all right. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In our packet is our monthly report. We only had July information for this report by the time we submitted to the board, but we do have some preliminary information for August ridership. So in July, we saw 353,189 trips on our fixed route system, which was a 62% increase in the ridership compared to the same time a year ago. And that same information, same months compared to same months in 2019 compared to July 2023, we saw 16% ridership increase. Well, in August, we had experienced another increase, set another record high for transit. 366,922 is the preliminary ridership information on fixed route, which is 21% increase from August last year. If you recall, last year we were only able to offer this free fare program for 1 month, which is August, and we saw additional 21% ridership increase from last year, which is great. Compared to August 2019, we saw 19% ridership increase in August. So we set our system record in July, and then we broke that record in August again. So we're very excited to share that information. Also in your packet is transit highlight, and I would like to really highlight this mobile ticketing project that we have completed. This project started in May 2022. We started implementing this mobile app called Ride MMT First, which is an option to purchase bus passes and ride the buses using your mobile app. And this year, we were able to expand that program and fully implement the project, including a few other features. One of them is the card that Gail just helped me distribute. Thank you, Gail. It's called Metro Card. It really is a smart card option for people who don't have a smartphone, or for people who they might have kids who don't have a smartphone and they want them to use the card. So it's a really tab on, tab off card. And one of the nice things about this card is you can use this card and you don't have to pay more than what the daily or the monthly fare rates are. In other words, it's called fare capping. If you ride one ride ticket costs $1.75. If you ride 3 times, it's more than our day pass, which is $4. So this card will cap you at that $4 maximum that you will have to pay for that day. And also for our monthly pass, which is a $63 cost upfront if you're buying a 31-day pass. But with this card, you have the option to just keep riding, keep paying $1.75 each time you ride until you reach that $63 and you won't pay anymore. So you don't have to, people don't have to front that $63. Sometimes it's a lot to benefit from the mobile ticketing and benefit from fare capping. So we're very excited to offer this option to our riders. You might have seen our employees last week at Downtown Terminal distributing these cards. The cards are currently free because we're still in this promotional period. Once we distribute what we have, we plan to charge these cards at $5 each going forward. So that's our update. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Lynn. And do we have any questions or comments? I do not see any either online or in person here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is 8B, City of Colorado Springs Monthly Change Order and Property Acquisition Report. Yeah.
Mr. Chair and members of the PPRTA board, the change order log and the real estate log are informational items and available in your packet. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those.
All right. Any questions or concerns? I see none and hear none. Next up, El Paso County Monthly Change Order Property Acquisition Report. Josh.
Josh Palmer, County Engineer. Likewise, information is presented before you. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay, I do not see any. So we'll move along then to item number 9. So administrative actions and reports 9A. So this is our draft board policy number 32, and we'll be voting on that today. Rick, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start this off, but Gail Sturdivant will cover the details. At the direction of the board, approximately 1 year ago, the PPRTA staff and member government staffs and the CAC have been working on a draft. It's been through multiple changes. Board Attorney Jennifer Ivey has reviewed it and made changes to it. It's to address and define how to implement the phrase completely funded that was in the original 2004 voter approved ballot measure, which allows the PPRTA board to declare that all A-list projects are completely funded, which allows the member government, the board and the member governments then to move to the B list projects. But per the ballot measure, it has to be has to apply to all of the member government's A list projects. We did discuss in the lead up to the PPRTA 3 ballot the possibility of going to the voters and asking to change that to allow individual member governments to move from the A's to the B's. But the board decided to leave it the way it was in the original 2004 voter approved ballot. So this one page board policy 32 is being offered to the board with the request for approval. So now I'll turn it over to Gail, who will cover the details.
Thank you, Rick. Gail Sturdivant. Just to kind of highlight this, the way this memo was broken down is really first to focus in on the language of the PPRTA ballot, completely funded, as Rick mentioned. And second, to define what that means. First is that all the PPRTA projects, A-list projects, must have adequate budgeted funds available for the complete execution of the project as anticipated under the PPRTA. The ballot, as it was presented on the ballot language. And how then it goes on to define how a member government would document that. So if the project was not complete with construction, that we were recommended the project be either pre-bid or just ready to go out to bid, or being bid for construction. So we have a cost certainty amount. And those we equate to those class 1 and class 2 cost estimates, or the opinion of probable construction costs. Then we also added that depending on the accuracy of that estimate, whether it's based on the pre-bid documents or the bid documents, that you add either 20% or 5% appropriately. One of the things that when Jennifer Ivy was doing her last edit, she also rightly identified projects that are for design only or program funds to further define, to remember the government could say whether or not those were complete or not. So if a member government thinks that they're done and they want to move to the B project, then we laid out the next part goes into the steps that they really need to do. So what they really need to do is to go to all the other member governments and say, hey, all of them, are you also willing to say that you are adequately funded to complete your A-list projects? Once that's done, that member government who's wants to propose a project for the board's consideration for the B list have to bring that back and would obviously get concurrence at the same time at the CAC and board meetings that we've agreed that yes, everything's are completely funded. But the first, when it goes to the CAC could ask for additional information before of the member government before it's even passed forward to the board. And once it passes to the through the CAC, then it could go to the board. The board at any time could ask for additional information from that member government. And if the board felt like the member government and their cohorts have not adequately demonstrated that things are completely funded, then they could always say, sorry, no, we're not moving to the B list project. We're not going to be supporting that. So that's really what has to happen in those steps. But if we do move forward and moving forward to a B list project, then there are 7 steps or 7 escalations of how projects would be funded. If for some reason, even with all that due diligence up front, we found ourselves in a position where there wasn't enough contingency or funding forward. So those 7 steps came through. The first one is that member government that made the request could request a line item transfer from another A-list project. The second one is that they could request a line item transfer from another member government's line item project. So it would be a 2-part line item transfer. And so both parties would have to be amenable to that. The third one was to make a request to the CAC and board to use the board's 7% non-TABOR capital reserve, which for the original 2023 budget happened to be $5.8 million, to give you an example. I will just mention when we had a discussion, it was either last month or 2 months ago, we did talk about that same TABOR reserve when we had the $600,000 going to Manitou Springs. The fourth one is to come and ask the CAC and board for approval to use the board's 3% TABOR reserve if it's available for that right applicable capital authorization period. And it could only be available after the 11th year. So after the 10-year authorization's done, it could only be available starting in that 11th year, should that still be carried. Again, to give you an example, for the 2023 original budget, that equated to $2.5 million. The fifth step would be for that member government to offer to the CACM board to stop or slow the spending in our B-list project to cover the costs of other A-list projects. The sixth one would make requests to the CACM board to direct another member government to stop or slow spending on their B-list project to cover the costs for A-list projects. And the seventh would be for that member government to provide non-PPRTA fundings to complete the construction. So those are the several steps of escalated approach if for some reason after, again, all the due diligence failed and there wasn't enough contingency to fund the project. And I'd be happy to try to answer questions. This has been floating around. We were looking at for 11 months. So.
Yes. I'll start out by making just a couple comments. It's clear to me that this policy here, and if we approve it, it will make it very challenging to actually go to a B list, but I think that's the right thing. And it would mean all of us would be on board for that particular one if we do. So I like the policy 32, the way it's written and drafted. And so those are my comments. I'll open it up to the floor for anyone else. Mayor.
Yeah, as stated in the memo, I'm okay with it now.
Okay.
We've had a consultation.
Very good. Yep.
Totally cool.
Any other board members' comments? Rick.
Just a reminder, it's quote unquote, just a policy. So the board can change it from meeting to meeting. So as we get closer, as we get further into the second half of 2024, the fourth quarter, 2024, et cetera, if we get smarter about how to implement this in the coming months, the board can always change this.
Looking for any other board directors? Yes, Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think it's well crafted. I appreciate the work people have done on it. I think 11 months is a noble and yeomanly effort. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anybody online that has any questions, and with that, I would ask for a motion to approve the board policy number 32 as written.
I move approval of board policy number 32 as presented. John Graham.
Mayor Dixon, I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I hear and see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear and see none. With that, board policy number 32 is now approved. With that, move over to quarterly reports from member governments.
This is the quarter report for the second quarter of 2023. They accomplished work by the 6 member governments, and the 4 of them are in your packet. I've handed out and sent electronically the reports from town of Callahan and town of Rama, and I've handed those out also just a few minutes ago. So it's information. Be glad to take any questions.
Any questions? Nope. I see and hear none. With that, move to item number 10, PPRTA member announcements. I'll start over on my right with Board Director Avila.
I have none.
Okay, thank you. I'll move to my left, start with Board Member Donaldson.
No announcement.
Mayor Graham. Mayor Pro Tem Cardy.
None at this time.
Mayor.
We've been pretty well decimated with the rains on our mountain dirt roads. We are piggybacking, so to speak, on the disaster declaration for El Paso County to try to help get some additional funding. Basically, what's happened is we put up road base and then we get another rainstorm and it washes most of it right out. But because of that, we're actually going to try an experiment. And unfortunately, we haven't really decided to get into this experiment until after most of the Highway 24 stuff was done. And so we may be looking for some millings. What we're going to do is we're going to take a road in town that is both flat and has some steepness to it. And we're going to basically try to redo the drainage and then maybe do the rolled millings and just see how well it works. Because quite honestly, I've heard both sides of the discussion. 20 and 30-year people will tell me, one side will say, don't touch it. Another side will say, hey, it'll work great for you. And so we're just going to do an experiment and see what happens. So yeah, town may be calling around for looking for some millings.
Thank you, Mayor Dixon. Yes. Okay, I'll look around the table. Anyone? Rick?
The PPRTA CAC members requested to have name tags with the magnetized backings. So we've ordered those for the PPRTA CAC. We'd like to offer those to the PPRTA board. I'm going to send around a sample for you to look at and get the board's thumbs up.
And while that's coming around, Andy, anything, Gail?
I will mention, Mayor Dixon, I will do some inquiries to see if we can come up with those millions. I know we have the millions. It's whether or not it's the transport, if it makes sense, or if somebody else nearby might be better suited to support you, but be happy to help you if we can.
And thank you for bringing that up. I've already seen it. All right. Oop. And I know Yolanda can't see it's just it's a nice name tag, Yolanda.
I can feel it.
Yep, okay. There's nothing.
Oh, that's pretty bad. Kind of like I see it doing.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
So the sample's from the CAC, but at the bottom it'd be board of directors and have your names. We have your names as they're on the agenda. For example, Councilmember Donaldson would be Dave instead of David. So we'll just use your names as they're on the agenda unless you let me know otherwise.
Okay.
Is there a thumbs up for name tags for each board member? Very
Sure.
good.
Yep.
We'll proceed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Josh, do you have anything remaining?
No, I would just echo what Gail said about it. We have
And then,
millions all over the place, and I've have some best practices for using rejuvenate agents as well. So, yeah.
And I'll look online, board member Geithner. Do you have any comments for us today?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else? Yes, I was going to ask if there we go. Welcome again. Any comments, Director Bell? If you're trying, you're mute.
No, I have nothing. Thanks.
Thank you. Jared, anybody else that I can't see online or anything? Okay, thumbs up. With that, we will adjourn. See you next month.